Muy bien, gracias.
We are joined by Ondi Timoner, who is the director of your movie, it's Mapplethorpe. What was your motivation for starting Mapplethorpe life?
Well, he was someone who was in conflict and was sort of a visionary, was very much a visionary. And so he, because of the conflict that he had, of the way he was raised, but then as he discovered his sexuality and realized that he was gay, and his art and his sexuality at the same time, and he realized he needed to use his art to make gay life, LGBTQ life, okay and acceptable, and even beautiful, and even worshipped. And so he was very ambitious because it was the 1960s and 70s in America, and it was not acceptable. It was like the underworld. So he worked very hard to, and stayed very strong, even though people doubted him and turned him down. He stayed with it, and he eventually figured out, you know what, if I take this documentary-like photography of the 7 people, 10 people all in a club, but I take them and I put them in a studio and I make it like Greek and Roman sculpture and I make it like Michelangelo and Rodin, I can show the form and the beauty and people will not be able to deny it. It will turn into fine art. And so he made photography actually a collectible art form, and he made LGBTQ life and BDSM, S&M, all of these beautiful expressions of love between people that were not accepted then. He made them accepted because by the time he was in the 80s, you weren't famous if he didn't take your picture. So all the celebrities were going to get their photos taken by him, whether it was Sigourney Weaver or Donald Sutherland or, the list goes on and on. And meanwhile, every morning or every day, he was shooting penises and, naked men and other things that we shouldn't necessarily put in words on this lovely television show. So he was a revolutionary, and I wanted to tell his story so that I could inspire a generation of artists, hopefully, that would watch the film, and his story would carry on. So I could bring him to life with Matt Smith starring as him. It does a phenomenal job, and then people watching would go, you know what? The next time someone tells me no, I'm gonna keep going, because I saw it in that movie. I saw he did that, and he made it, and he changed he changed the world.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was the greatest satisfaction that this movie brought you?
Finishing it. Finishing it was pretty satisfying. It was 12 years to get it made. So I optioned it in 2006, and we kept almost being there with the money and almost being there with the talent and almost being there. James Franco was starring at one point. There was a different financier, and there would always be a reason, usually Patti Smith, actually, blocking it. But it was always like something that made it not happen. And meanwhile, different budget levels, 12 million, 1 million, 6 million, 9 million. It was just like, so I'd had to rewrite. And every time I rewrote it, it got better. But it was just, it was a long process. And there were times when I thought it wouldn't happen. And there were times when I thought, Ondi, you need to make peace with it not happening. Like, you just have to accept that this might not happen.
You got a great feeling, right?
And then it would come back up again, and we would get back in there, and then finally we got the funding. I cast Matt, it's 6 years ago, and we finally got the funding like in 2017, just 10 days before we were going to lose the rights from the Mapplethorpe estate, which we had the rights for a decade, and they were just like, we can't renew anymore, you're out of time, it's over. So they were going to just pull the rights. 10 days before we got the money, and we started rolling because we had to roll before those 10 days were up. We started rolling on July 11th, 2017, and we finished on August 5th, 2017. So we had 19 days of shooting in New York in 35 locations, 155 scenes on Super 16 and Super 8mm. So I literally was just, my mantra was, I just have to get through this. I just have to get through this. And like, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I want to make more scripted films. But that pressure, you can feel it on the screen. You can feel it in Matt's performance and everybody's performance. We had to like, sometimes 1 or 2 takes and bam, moving on, you know, to get it done.
It's hard.
And I would shoot Super 8 in between. I'd keep it on my chair. And then when Nancy Schreiber, our incredible DP, was relighting, I would take the camera and just take the actors outside and start shooting with them, or shoot Matt on set in bed, you know, because he was bored and frustrated and like, why can't we just keep rolling, you know, and it would just like film him, it would keep them calm, and it was like the peanut butter for the bread. So, wow.
It's
Do
a
what
really
you have to
big
do,
adventure.
how to do it.
Yeah.
Never say die. So it's nice to be here and sharing it with 600 students right now in that auditorium, and to know that they're seeing it and hopefully it'll impact their lives. That is a beautiful feeling.
Yeah. What do you think it's relevant to come to Mexico and share your work on the International Film Festival?
I mean, I love it. I've been to Mexico many times. I love Mexico. I'm really sorry for our president. He's an asshole. He just, you know, doesn't know many things. He's a very narcissistic and horrible person. So excuse, please, President Trump. It's so weird to even say those words. Like, how is he the president of the United States? It's so crazy. But yeah, I've been to Mexico, like, let's see. I was in San Cristobal de las Casas. It was amazing. But then I was part of Oaxaca Film Festival.
Yeah.
No, I was part of Ambulante. Ambulante is a traveling film festival of documentaries. So my films, I've showed We Live in Public in Oaxaca. I showed my film Cool It in Mexico City. And to be here now in Puerto Vallarta. Puerto Vallarta.
Vallarta.
Like Vallarta.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful and so wonderful. And the audience the other night when we opened PREMIO MAGUEY was so great. It was so much fun to be in that setting, lying on that bed, watching with the palm trees. And me and a friend of mine who's an artist, we're both here working on screenplays right now that are very deeply personal stories. And just being in this relaxing setting has been so helpful. You know, it's been like, really, we've like made leaps and bounds in our work in just a few days. So we're grateful, very grateful.
Yeah. So
And I'm excited to go here. These kids are gonna ask questions that are gonna be, their minds are probably being blown right now. I'm being blown kisses off set. It's pretty nice. It's a warm culture here in Mexico. I'm never leaving. Right? I'm staying, right.
So thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. It's
Muchas
a
gracias.
pleasure to have you.
Placer es de mí. Mi placer. Mi
El
placer.
placer es mío.
Es mío. I started to speak Portuguese. The father of my child was Portuguese. So they say placer, but it's placer.
Yeah.
So what is it? Mi placer.
El placer es mío.
El placer es mío.
Yeah, you got it.
Gracias.
Thanks.